That's an IMDb summary.
I
and
like
it's a
that
little
they clarified
on the nose.
who's not.
Yeah, well, now you have to.
Yeah. Zing.
Gotcha, 2018.
Here comes the theme!
Hello and welcome to the Critical Breakdown, the podcast where we start at the bottom of Rotten Tomatoes and work our way to 100% fresh. I'm Max.
And I'm Scott. Today we're talking Raiders of the Lost Ark, rated 94%. And Rotten Tomatoes, probably better known as Indiana Jones in the Raiders of the Lost Ark.
It's true, and I think after this one is when they added the Indiana Jones to the title, technically. Now people refer to it as Indiana Jones and Raiders of the Lost Ark.
It's listed on Amazon Video, too, as Indiana Jones and the Raiders of the Ark.
But originally, it's just Raiders of the Lost Ark.
Yeah.
And for new listeners, if you...
Isn't that Star Wars is the same way, right? Wasn't it
just
called
Star Wars originally was just Star Wars.
And then it was Star Wars A New Hope.
They did a re-release for It Was A New Hope once they realized they made shit tons of money and could make as many sequels as they want. So.
And just re-release them.
Yeah, that too.
This time it's called A New Hope.
Yeah, so for our new listeners, like I said, we start with...
welcome.
Welcome. We started with the bottom-rated movies, and now we're here at the top. Each week, one of us gets a pick, as well as the audience.
Yes. So this is Max's 94%.
Yes, and I picked...
nice pick, my man.
Thanks, buddy.
Yeah.
I picked Raiders of the Lost Ark because it's a classic, number one.
Yeah.
It's probably like... there's a very varied genre of movies that they call like action-adventure movies, and this is probably like the cream of the crop as far as that goes.
Sure.
You're not going to find too many, and maybe we'll hit one or two here out, but you're not going to find too many better than this, especially with the pacing, the writing, the premise. Like, it works really well.
Yeah.
Proof and point is the sequels aren't as good as this movie.
Yeah, we'll probably dig into that, but I'm glad you picked it too, because the Indiana Jones series has always been like a blind spot for me, and the only one I'd seen was Raiders. But watching it again, I realized that either I hadn't actually seen Raiders or I'd only seen part of it because
it sounded more like the part
basically
of it.
new to me.
Yeah. And I think, I used to watch the heck out of the original three when I was a kid, and a lot of it I didn't really fully like appreciate till I was older.
Yeah.
Some of it good and some of it bad now, but
sure.
But yeah, like a lot of it kind of it's a movie that still appeals to kids, obviously, and very much still appeals to adults.
It's fun.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Before we get too deep, do we have any podcast housekeeping to discuss?
We do, as a matter of fact, Max.
What we got?
A nice casual segue. Well, you mentioned it, right? We got your pick, my pick, and a fan vote.
Mm-hmm.
My pick we'll be watching next week, and you'll find out later what it is.
Yeah, listen to the rest of the episode to find out what we listen to next week.
Ooh, what's it going to be? And then we have our fan vote with 4 fresh nominees. 94% fresh, actually.
Nice.
Yeah. So what are our nommies?
We're going to, take it big and go a little, not just international, but we're going to go, intergalactic.
In a way, yeah.
In a way. But we're going to stay on Earth. We're going to have a little arrival.
It would suck if, like, you got a job and they're like, yeah, this job's intergalactic. And they're like, you're going to stay on Earth. I was like, shit.
It would be too bad if you got to translate alien languages.
You had to work in that lab. Yeah, Arrival came out 2016.
Yeah, right? This is one that you kept wanting me to see, and I kept wanting to see it. It's just I was hella busy.
Yeah.
And when I finally watched it, I was like, I should have watched it all those 18 times you saw it.
Should have sent a poet.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
That doesn't make sense. But
well, it does, because it's a Contact reference, and this is basically Contact.
In a way, it is.
There's a lot in common.
There's similarities.
But they're very different at the same time.
And we've talked about Arrival a few times, like when I saw it and then when you saw it.
Yeah.
So, I remember seeing it.
And when we watched Contact, too.
And we watched Contact. We talked about it then.
Yeah.
Yeah, I saw this one like the Thursday night when it came out.
Yeah.
And you know what? I'm just going to say it. I missed the midnight release. That was a big thing in like the 2000s. Like the Thursday night midnight showing. It always sucked the next day, but the energy around seeing Spider-Man 3 at midnight.
So, for our listeners, if we haven't brought this up before, separately, me and Scott were at the same exact Spider-Man 3 midnight showing, but I was friends with your sister at the time, so I said hey to her.
Yeah.
And you, too. I think I may have met you at least once.
I did not plan this, but I was wearing this shirt that I'm currently wearing.
Nice.
It's a Spider-Man shirt.
That's a well-worn shirt.
Sarah bought it for me,
Nice.
and I believe she was dating a gentleman at the time, and she got him a Venom shirt.
Oh, nice. Duality.
I'm the hero.
Yeah.
And that's why I'm still here for you, Sarah.
I remember very kind of embarrassed about this now, but I had a live journal at the time, and my first update, I went back and looked recently because I was looking for an old photo.
That's trouble.
Yeah. My first update after seeing Spider-Man 3 was Spider-Man 3, huge hit. Like great success, something like that.
That's the embarrassing.
Yeah. And
no,
so,
I think it gets a bad rap. It's not a good movie.
No.
But it's not as like there's cringy scenes.
Yeah.
The scenes are supposed to be cringy, but it like goes way too far. And
It's
there's
a mixed
elements
bag.
that don't work,
Yeah.
but at its core I still think it's pretty good. It's better than the Amazing Spider-Man series.
I need to revisit all of those to fully make that statement, but I will say I would probably watch Spider-Man 3 over the second Amazing Spider-Man any day.
No doubt.
Yeah. So,
Well, for me at least.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I'm a big fan of the Raimi trilogy, and the third is not great. It's like it's even not a good movie. It's a bad movie.
Yeah.
But it's still better than
but
the
like pre-MCU, it's a different status of comic book movies.
Yeah. But like Spider-Man 2 is
good.
the best superhero movie of all time.
I can't fully say that, but
You know I love a hot take, and I'm going to stand behind
it's your
it.
opinion. I was talking with someone recently, and I said the funny thing about the new Venom film is it looks like a pre-MCU Marvel movie.
Yeah, it does.
Like it looks on par with everything they made before Iron Man.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it looks on par with like the Raimi or the
just like
X2.
just the generic kind of like throwing darts at a target, trying to make your movie work, like adapting enough to make it recognizable, and that's it. And just the fact that it's a major Spider-Man villain separated from like his key origin is just strange.
I'm really looking forward to the Rhino movie coming up. Paul Giamatti's got to fulfill his contract.
Heard it's going to be a real turd in the wind.
I don't know if that's a pun.
That's a reference to the Venom trailer that ends with him saying, "You'll be like a turd in the wind."
I did not watch the Venom trailer.
We'll have to watch it after this.
You texted me when it came. You said, "Did you watch it?" And I was like, "Not yet."
Yeah,
and by not yet, I meant
weren't lying.
maybe not.
You weren't lying.
Still not yet, Max. Anyways, that's a rival.
Yeah,
How did we get
God,
there?
we segued hard. All right, so you can almost say we moved so fast on that subject that we got whiplash,
or that we got dazed and confused,
or do you know what happened to us?
Take it from the first there. Whiplash.
Yeah.
This is definitely a Scoots pick.
Yeah, you've been probably
great
since you gave up on Hounding Me on Arrival, you switched to Whiplash.
Like, okay, Whiplash. Now it's like Whiplash is taking the backseat to me trying to get you to watch the Mission Impossible movies.
And Creed.
And Creed.
Yeah. We'll get there, guys.
Yeah, Whiplash is great, though. This movie is one I want people to watch a lot because, like, Miles Teller has a punchable face, and if you don't give him enough of a shot, you might just stop there. But Whiplash is a great showing of him. So I'm always like, watch Whiplash, man. You'll see Miles Teller.
But what if, like, doesn't it kind of make you want to punch him in the face more, but in a good way?
Not me, but in a good. What's a good way?
I don't know, man.
Do you ever want to punch me in the face in a good way?
Speaking of the Raimi trilogy, J. Jonah Jameson's in this movie.
Yeah. J.K. Simmons is the actor.
And he's in Juno.
Yeah, yep.
So that's pretty interesting.
Yeah. That is interesting. Well done. You know what? Spider-Man 3.
Yeah.
Fifth option.
We're just doing that. No, I'm excited to see Whiplash. I've heard nothing but good stuff about it from people.
Yeah, it's good.
It's Damon Chazelle.
Yep.
Yeah.
It was it wasn't his debut. He Grand Piano was like an indie film. I believe Elijah Wood was in it.
Yeah.
I didn't see it, but that was like his first film, and then this was his first really big one, obviously.
That's cool. I mean, it's never been a film I've tried to avoid. It's just one of those many things that just doesn't cross your plate.
The technical aspects of this movie are just the editing and everything outstanding.
Cool.
So.
I'm excited to see it if we get to watch it.
Or
regardless,
we can just watch it.
I'll just watch it. I'd watch all 4 of these movies at any time.
Well, you know, Dazed and Confused is one of the ones I haven't seen.
Yeah.
And I'd
it's
like
kind of
to.
a classic.
Yeah.
It's kind of weird because like it's not my favorite movie by any means. I enjoyed watching it when I first saw it, and I like it to a degree, but it's like I rarely revisit it. But it does have a ton of star power in it. A lot of younger, like there's a very young Ben Affleck in it, and there might even be a young Casey Affleck. I'm trying to recall off the top of my head, but a lot of like younger people before they were anyone, and it's very much. I mean, you know, it's famous for like all those Matt McConaughey lines and stuff like that. It's just, it's a good like coming of age / like end of high school party nerds kind of Freaks and Geeks kind of vibe to it. Obviously, I think it's before that, but
it's
it's like a couple years
yeah
preceding it, but it's that same like looking at different social circles. So anyway.
Juno.
Yeah, so Juno.
Yeah.
This is
Diablo Cody.
That's right. We've had trouble with that name before. And is this also Ritter? Or
Ritter. Reitman?
Reitman.
I don't know if I can't remember. I think so.
Yeah, I feel like it
Jason Reitman.
Yeah, Jason Reitman.
Yeah. I just this year they had Tully come out that
Tully,
duo, and it was excellent.
And I love young adult, and I want to see Tully.
Yeah, it's really good.
So there's a good track record there.
Yeah, I haven't watched it since it came out.
Yeah, there was.
And, and I'm thinking about it. I probably didn't see it right when it came out because what did it come out in 2008? I probably wasn't allowed to see it.
You probably weren't
because it was teen pregnancy.
Yeah.
But I know I've seen it.
I feel like I saw it in theaters with your sister, though. So
well, my sister's older than
her.
me.
I know, that's what I'm saying. So
Sarah, call in.
Yeah, let us know.
Now.
Recount Spider-Man 3 and Juno for us.
Yeah.
But yeah, so Juno, I mean, I liked it a lot when I saw it, and I've only seen it maybe once partially since then. There was things I remember that really worked for me, and there was things that didn't.
Yeah.
I feel like the teen dialogue sometimes didn't feel, it felt too forced at the time. But there was the moments of like between family that felt real, I remember, and then also her interactions with like older people felt real. And I remember just some of it like really, really worked for me. And I'm excited to see it again.
Rainn Wilson was in it, right?
Rainn.
And was Allison Janney the mom?
Yeah.
And then J.K. Simmons. Like
and then you have Jennifer Garner, Jason Bateman, so
Michael Cera. He could be making his triumphant return.
When was the last time we had him on?
Scott Pilgey.
Oh, yeah.
Why did it say Scott Pilgey?
I don't know.
It doesn't save syllables.
It doesn't.
It doesn't sound good. It should be Scott Pilgey.
Maybe just Scott P? Scott Pill?
What about just Scott Pilgrim?
What about just Pilgrim?
What about the Pill Man?
All right.
Pill Pusher.
Basically now we hand this over to our audience.
Yeah, this is out of our hands other than for our votes, so it's still partially in our hands, but not.
Yeah, but we're part of our audience. So.
Yeah, we're a big part of
our
audience.
So we'll have these polls up. Where are they at?
They're at thecriticalbreakdown.com/vote.
Yes, they are.
Or is it /poll?
It's /vote.
Right on, man.
/poll is just nude photos of you.
Yeah. Don't type that in, guys.
Yeah.
That's for just me. There's not a direct link.
Scott just likes to have a record of his own nudies.
Yeah. So. Just in case they get out there, I need to be able to know the source.
Yeah.
And it's me.
But no, so go make your voice heard. Let us know what movie to watch. And
let us know what to watch. Max, what are you going to vote for? Go.
I don't know. Okay. I kind of want to watch Arrival again. I can't lie. But then, I mean, you've hyped up Whiplash so much that I'm kind of hoping it wins.
Well, you could.
I could influence it by voting.
Let's vote for it. Yeah. We could just make the whole poll a farce and just watch Whiplash. Let's do it.
No.
Oh, okay. Well, we'll do authentic then.
Do authentic.
I will be voting for Spider-Man 3.
Okay. Yeah. Write-in campaign.
Well, no. Let's put it on the ballot.
It's not how
it's earned its place.
It probably is a 94%.
We've talked about it more this episode than the other.
I would say it's a 94% film.
There you go. That's recorded.
Yeah. Well, let's move on from this point.
Okay.
What have you been watching, Scott, besides Spider-Man 3?
Well, I saw Mission Impossible Fallout again since we last recorded.
Yeah.
Then one of the other ones we're going to watch later. So I having not seen the Indiana Jones movies after watching Raiders and enjoying it, I started watching Temple of Doom, and we'll explore it a bit. I'm sure not too much, but a bit later. But I haven't had much else going on. What about you? What have you been watching?
Well, I fully intended to catch Mission Impossible this morning, but it didn't match up with my schedule. But yesterday morning, I did catch.
Do you think Ethan Hunt waits for the events to happen on his schedule, Max?
He needs my full attention. That's the problem.
Okay.
But no, I did catch Ant-Man and the Wasp.
Yeah,
finally.
Yeah.
That didn't wait 4 years. I caught it right away.
There you go.
I enjoyed it. It was good.
Yeah.
The characters and the stories that are still funny were there and still funny.
Yep.
They expanded on some things I enjoyed more. I liked seeing him being a father more, and that he has kind of a positive relationship with that aspect of his life now.
Yeah, it'd be easy, and we talked about it, I think, when you watched Ant-Man, but it'd be easy to make like the Bobby Cannavale character like a bad person, and they don't, and that's
and then straight up in this, they have like a very good relationship, which is nice, and they're like
nice.
they improve on that "we're rooting for you" aspect to make it like healthy, which is good, and I think it's it's more realistic in the modern age to have, multi-parent families like that,
Yeah,
and to show
yeah.
it's good. And if you're a kid
be
watching
healthy.
this and your parents are split, that probably feels, and they're having like a healthy relationship, that probably feels so normal,
Yep.
So it's cool. But I like all that. I loved The Wasp. I like Evangeline Lilly a lot, so
yeah.
I like seeing her character expand.
I like
on.
that she wasn't like sexualized at all.
Yeah, they did one like thigh flip at one point, but it was like very fast in the middle of a thing. But I feel like that's what most comic book movies do for female fighting, and they didn't really rely on that too much. So
like
that was
the
good.
femme fatale character trope.
It's
like
it's
when
all
Black Widow kills someone, she like
thigh kills
beats him with the thighs. Yeah.
Like break his neck with your thighs, flip that guy with your thighs. It's like, it's a mixed bag because someone like Scarlett Johansson doing that in a tight leather suit, like
like,
why
I'm
they're
not
doing
gonna
it.
complain.
Yeah, and it's like it sells the movie to a
Yeah.
degree. You put that in a trailer, people are like, yeah. But at the same time, like this character, that wouldn't even make full sense, you know?
No.
And having her character in the movie, I think, is cool because she's, the badass versus his goofy person. But it was good. I like their relationships. I like that the I won't go too deep into spoiler territories here, but it wasn't just a straight on villain, evil person.
Yeah. There's a few different forces going on.
Yeah, there's antagonistic forces, and they managed to kind of weave them in a way that's fun and interesting.
Yeah. The flashbacks for the Michael Pena and T.I. and what David I forget the Delshmanian or something. I forget the guy's name. He was in.
He
like,
had some really good
Prisoners and
jokes
stuff.
too.
The three of them together though have very funny moments, just like they did in the first one.
Yeah.
But I think they got. I mean, it was probably a similar amount of screen time, but it was just more memorable. Maybe it's just because I saw it more recently. But.
I mean, they're good on screen, and I'm
when they
glad
flash
they
back
keep
to
him in
Michael
there.
Pena with the like
The
long curly
hair,
hair, it's just
it's great.
Yeah.
No, there's I mean, it's just there's so many. Paul Rudd does a good job, and there's a moment
Paul Rudd's
towards
hot, dude.
Yeah, but there's a moment towards the end where he let's just say with his acting skills, he's channeling someone else, and it's very funny.
Yeah.
But like also touching in a weird way. So I was just pleasantly surprised with the fact that because the first one heavily relies on like the origins of that movie, of where it came from, and then Peyton Reed took over, and there's always going to be that debate with any movie.
I mean, obviously there's a writing team, but it's just like the first one, the production was such a story.
Yeah.
This one, it's like, okay, make your movie, and
and for it to still be good,
Yeah.
to still be funny, like it shows that like he's making his own movie still.
For
So
sure.
that's good.
I wonder if Edgar Wright saw it.
I don't know. That's what I always wonder with those things. Sometimes they talk about it years later, so I don't know if we'll get that anytime soon.
Yeah, but this one had such like a hurtful kind of end to it.
Yeah. So
the
I
Edgar
wonder.
Wright time with it. I'd still like to see an Edgar Wright.
Oh,
superhero
for sure.
movie.
Yeah.
Give him
Guardians.
shit. Not a bad idea. Maybe too soon, but
probably
no.
too
Give
soon.
him who's a cool hero we can give him. Let's give him Booster Gold, man.
Dude, I was gonna say if I was at DC, I'd be like if I was a high level producer at DC.
You'd call him
as
up
soon
and
as
say
these
which
Marvel
of these do you
people
want?
get hurt, I'd be like, come to our team, do what you
So
want.
you'd be going for James Gunn right now.
Oh hell yeah!
You'd be
I'd be gunning for
gunning.
gun. Yeah, because here's the thing: we're getting real lost before we even touch our.
Man, I
subject
want to
today.
get back to Spider-Man 3.
Here's the thing: the old comic book days.
Yeah.
Jack Kirby started with Marvel.
Yeah.
He created every character basically that Stan Lee created. He did the art for. Stan Lee gets all the credit. Jack Kirby did just as much work.
Damn. Shots fired at Stan Lee.
No, I mean this is like known comic
Hey,
knowledge.
I'm just saying.
Stan Lee is great, but what I'm saying is Jack Kirby did just as much work. Anyway,
It's not like you're saying more.
Jack Kirby then went to DC. He created the New Gods. That was supposed to be his thing. That includes a Dark Side and
Oh yeah.
so
Darkseid.
the bad guy from Justice League was part of this.
Steppenwolf.
Steppenwolf. He's part of that whole family. Okay. But the whole idea was for it to be a separate universe where he gets to do his own thing. It's all psychedelic and cool looking, awesome artwork. He gets spurned by DC. So then he just keeps going between the two of them, basically.
Ooh. Freelance.
So the whole thing with it is these guys would go back and forth. Todd McFarlane started with Marvel doing Spider-Man. Then he did Spawn. He's done both sides. Jim
Isn't
Lee.
he directing the new Spawn movie?
I
that's
think
coming
so.
out? That's cool.
Yeah.
Good for
Jim
him.
Lee started with Marvel doing X-Men, and then he did Batman for a long time. Then he just jumps back and forth, basically. These guys just jump back and forth. They should just do that with these directors. As soon as one gets spurned by the Marvel Disney machine, DC should be there saying, like, fix our shit. We'll
They
let
didn't
you do
even
whatever
have
you
a
want.
meeting about it.
They probably don't want to, those directors, once they're burned. They probably just want to go do their own thing again,
Yeah.
would be my guess.
Yeah.
But
What was James Gunn's biggest thing prior to Guardians?
Scooby-Doo. He did Super, I think.
Maybe he'll
Biggest
go
thing.
to DC.
Slither.
Maybe he'll go to DC. Yeah.
I think now he has the name cred to do whatever he wants.
Yeah.
But with Disney owning 48% of the industry, it's okay.
Yeah.
So
he did that the Belko experiment.
Yeah, he wrote that.
Experiment or experience?
Yeah, experiment.
I think that was like a passion project. So
Probably.
He EP'd it and everything.
Yeah.
I think he was trying to get it made for a while. And you know what? What's funny about all this stuff with James Gunn, like not much is funny about it, but all of the support that's come out for him from basically everybody who he's ever worked with has probably raised his profile a bit.
Oh, yeah.
There's people who probably never paid attention to who made the Guardians movies and such,
and
that now know more about him, and maybe he can be more successful.
Yeah, and
somehow.
the weird thing with it is, like, Disney doesn't have to do anything. They don't have to hire him back. They'll do whatever they want, and they'll make money doing it. And for him, it's like, hopefully for his sake, whatever.
Yeah.
But the rest of the industry, like I said, like Disney owns like almost half of it.
Yeah.
The rest of it should be pretty receptive to working with him. I mean, he has a proven track record with them, so it's like,
The thing that bugs me about it is the like hypocritical nature of it, because it's like, okay, so you're gonna let James Gunn go for this. Maybe it's justified, even if it was 6 years ago or something, and whatever. But then you have like Robert Downey Jr., who has pretty famously flamed out in your family-oriented company, but he's in front of the camera and he makes a lot of money.
Oh yeah. No, I mean,
Guardians
it's very
3 directed by me would still do really well.
Very hypocritical.
You know what?
For many reasons.
I'm gonna throw my hat in the ring.
Yeah, do it, man.
I'll direct Guardians 3.
I support you.
The villain, Casey Affleck. Playing Casey Affleck.
Well, then that,
the acting job of a lifetime.
Woo.
Yeah, man.
So.
Man, this opening's been such a whirlwind, I almost got Whiplash from it. Whiplash starring Miles Teller.
Whiplash. That sounds suspiciously like a whip.
Crash.
Like the sound of a whip.
Crashing.
While you're doing archaeology.
Nice. I feel like I supported that enough that I deserve at least most of the credit.
You kept trying to segue to Whiplash, but...
Yeah, to get us to segue here.
Okay.
Haven't you heard of a two-tiered segue? Oh, Max.
Oh,
Max.
I'm into that.
Okay. Well, what's the plot synopsis for Indiana Jones? Or, excuse me. What's the plot synopsis for Raiders of the Lost Ark?
In 1936, archaeologist and adventurer Indiana Jones is hired by the U.S. government to find the Ark of the Covenant before Adolf Hitler's Nazis can obtain its awesome powers. That's an IMDb summary.
I like
it's a
that
little
they clarified
on the nose.
whose Nazis
it was. Now you have to.
Yeah. Oh!
Gotcha, 2018.
Oh, boy.
Yeah, so that's a mouthy summary, but basically, it's right.
Yeah, no,
it's accurate.
Yeah.
Yeah,
no, it's right.
You know what's right?
I like that little tap you did there.
Having Nazis as your bad guys.
Yeah, it makes it really easy.
Yeah.
It's like, how do we establish villains? They're Nazis.
Yeah.
We don't.
And the thing is, like...
history did that for us.
Yeah. And it feels right also with Steven Spielberg doing that, because he definitely has personal connections to it. I get it. Makes sense.
No.
But it's a great, like, no question kind of thing. It's not a gray area. It's black and white.
It's pretty black and white.
Yeah, and like, no matter what Indiana Jones does, he's all right.
It's like, and I'm just pulling something out of totally randomly. It's like Indiana Jones could be a pedophile, but I'm still rooting for the Nazis. No, against Nazis. Wait, cut this.
Yeah. Well, funny you say that. Let's get right into it.
Whoa.
If Spielberg and Lucas had their full way, I think Indiana Jones, he would have been a pedophile.
Yeah, so the beautiful Marion, played by Karen Allen.
Beautiful Karen Allen, yes.
The beautiful Karen Allen plays Marion. And there's like one bit of dialogue when they first meet. They're reintroduced to each other. And the gist of it is she's mad at him. She says the line like, I was just a child. I was just a kid. And he's like, that was 10 years ago. This. And her character's 25.
They don't explicitly say she's 25.
Well, in interviews afterwards.
But afterwards. But I think Karen Allen might have been 30 while Harrison Ford was like 39 or something.
Yeah.
But they were both playing younger.
Yeah.
So I think he was playing 35 and she's playing 25.
Yeah.
So they mentioned the 10 years.
Yeah, and especially we read like an interview between like Lucas, Spielberg, and somebody.
Some transcript with them.
And they were talking about how if she was 15 when there was this whatever romantic whatever going on, that like the quotes in the transcript are like Lucas saying that it makes it so much more interesting.
Yeah.
Things like that. And that's kind of gross. You know?
Yeah, no, it definitely is gross. And I mean, I'm not excusing these guys in any single way for it because it was a bad idea. Obviously,
it doesn't play out in the movie.
Bad ideas. Exactly. And by the time it gets to the movie, it's been distilled enough where probably someone was like, that's a little too weird. Let's smooth that out some. Yeah. But in the creative process, I get that your brain's just rolling. You know, you're just going with the ideas. Like they were trying to do basically an American James Bond who's less a lady killer in that sense, but more still, you know, has swagger and is this sexually appealing.
He's
and
suave.
Their brain just went the wrong direction, is what I think. But it is highly problematic, and the problem is obviously that's not like a funny, lighthearted subject like they made it seem.
I just don't understand why they even talked about it.
And the way they talk about it is
on the
super
cutting room
gross
floor.
too. Yeah, like they're like
how interesting it is and how compelling.
And they put
it
it all on her too, where it's like, you know, she's a little
she comes
or
on
something.
To him,
and it's like, oh guys, come on.
This little minx.
So, thankfully, in the film, they're adults.
Yeah, they don't.
Thankfully,
like her age is
Both
never established and stuff like that. So, like, I didn't know about it until you had mentioned that
and, I mean,
there was
the
some
line
controversy
works without it being read as pedophilia because
I say I was just a kid about stuff I did when I was 22.
Exactly. Yeah. If I'm 18, I'm just a kid. The year before, I literally was just a kid. So it makes sense. But
I'm just a kid now.
In a way, you are.
In the cradle of life, you know what I mean?
But yeah, so there are
to walk.
Some of those issues.
Sorry.
Another issue overall is just kind of like these movies are very macho.
Yeah.
Very. I mean, kind of like
I think Marion's the only woman in the movie.
Yeah. Besides all the students who are in love with Indiana Jones, which
right.
I get. Dr. Jones is fine. Makes sense.
Fine.
But
this movie certainly doesn't pass the Bechdel test.
And that's a through line throughout all these films. They're not really ever good at having like strong, and not the stereotypical strong female characters, but like strongly written female characters that are well-rounded. Yeah. Marion is interesting and cool, and I like her, but you know, like she is definitely probably the strongest character out of all the females represented in an Indiana Jones movie. She
was like a bit of like the damsel. Yeah. But she holds her own, and I kind of like that she was like very begrudging about going on this adventure.
She's smart and a smart ass.
Yeah.
Like that works. And it's kind of like with Carrie Fisher as Leia, Princess Leia Organa. Like they have a lot of the same, you know, feistiness to them, but not just in like just deferring to the hero. Like she actively insults Indiana Jones the whole time because he's being a dumbass in her eyes.
A lot of people's eyes, you know.
Yeah, but there's still a lot of chemistry between them, so it does work for sure. Yeah. But I mean, one thing I noticed this time around watching this movie, which is interesting as a whole to me, is there's entire sections of this movie where there's barely any dialogue, and it's a very visually like action-paced movie where if you muted the whole film, you could probably get the gist of it with just like a musical track and never even like hearing a line spoken.
And there's a lot of like showing like glances and stuff that establish like motive and what the character's going to be doing, and like that scene where they have to take the staff of Ra and they have to put it in the right pedestal so that the sun shines through it. You can pick up everything that he's doing just from the movement.
Yeah.
And he's down when he's actually setting that up. He's down there by himself, so he really isn't talking at all. But it still works. The cinematography and stuff's really good in the movie.
Really, really good. Yeah. It's cool because, you know, Spielberg and Lucas both had good careers by this point. Like, they've already known and stuff. But this definitely still has, like, a unique feel while still feeling like their hands are on it.
Yeah.
Besides the pedophilia.
To me, it feels very through and through a Spielberg movie.
Oh, yeah, for sure. I mean, the Lucas influence more comes from just kind of that adventure feel.
And I think just, like, the technological stuff.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's well made.
The Lucasfilms. What's the special effects studio?
ILM.
Industrial Lights and Magic.
And John Williams has his voice very much heard his musical talent very much heard in this movie.
The theme is iconic.
Oh, yeah.
And George Lucas wrote the story, and he was probably an executive producer or something, but and this was a Lucasfilms film, but Spielberg directed it. So just in case anybody didn't know the.
And I think they worked with Lawrence Kasdan at some point too, but I don't remember.
His name's on it.
Yeah, screenplay. He wrote the official screenplay. That's it. Yeah. So,
if you, what would be the coolest state to be named after? Let's assume Indiana's not on the.
North Dakota.
North Dakota.
Yeah.
Would you go by ND? My name's ND Jones.
Dr. Jones.
Nice
Dr.
to meet me.
Jones. What about you? What's your choice?
California Jones would be kind of cool.
But wouldn't you use your own last name, or you're just still sticking with Jones?
No, like I'm saying, like I'm writing an Indiana Jones character. You know?
Okay.
So you would be North Dakota Rivera, Indy Rivera.
Yeah.
California Jones. I'm actually really feeling it now.
That
I could go by
cool.
Cal.
Yeah, Cal
Jones. Nice to meet
Sounds
me.
like you'd play baseball.
Sure. What position?
I don't know.
Catcher.
Catcher. In the Rye.
You could get a Cal behind the plate, you know? Or like a, I'll keep going. Pennsylvania. You could go by Penn. You need a good state that you can shorten. Indy is a nice short name.
Yeah, that's true.
And it's just, it's cool. Texas Jones.
Well, I believe Indiana Jones was named after
Georgia Jones.
Indiana Smith, who might have been an archaeologist, but they didn't like the last name Smith, so they changed it to Jones.
That's interesting. Smith.
I think so.
They're like, we don't like the last name Smith. What's the next most popular last name or most common last name?
They're just driving in the street and looked at mailboxes.
Yeah.
Yeah, so this movie, it starts out in a, is that supposed to be a South American jungle?
I think so.
Yeah.
That's the vibe.
Very much has a Meso-American,
Aztec, maybe. Yeah, and what I like about the film is it just starts you right off in the adventure.
Oh, yeah. And it's good. And the first, 3 minutes, they don't even show... Maybe it might be even 5 minutes. They don't even show Indiana himself. They show his guys working with them. Yeah. One played by Alfred Molina, back-to-back Molinas.
Double Molina, man.
So if we knock out Spider-Man 2 next week, all of a sudden we could do a third Molina. But
and I wanted to mention that I'm changing my pick next week to Spider-Man 2.
Okay.
And then everyone's going to vote for Spider-Man 3. So we should watch Spider-Man 1.
Got to knock them all three out.
Knock them all three out.
So, so we have this nice, long sequence of these guys. They're... adventuring, going on this archaeology hunt for a golden statue. They have a torn map.
Machete.
Yes. Yeah. It's cool. It's very much what you expect from an old serial film on adventuring in the jungle.
It's just like how National Treasure starts. In National Treasure, though, they're in the Arctic on that ship. Remember?
True. Yeah,
but it just puts you right in the adventure. It's like the adventure's happening, and this is just where I jumped in.
I mean, thinking about it, after I watched this the other night, I did think about National Treasure and how it's fun and just how the adventure genre, when you get it right, when you get an adventure film right, it's great. It's good. It's a fun time. And
National Treasure is very influenced by this, obviously.
Oh, totally. Yeah.
With his character being the cool, I don't even remember what, because he wasn't an archaeologist, Nicolas Cage in National Treasure.
He must have been some kind of historian.
Something like that, yeah. But...
I want to say he was a symbologist at first, but that's
Da Vinci Code, which honestly also has a lot in common.
Yeah.
Also directed by Steven Spielberg. No, it's Ron Howard. Same thing. For a long time, I got them confused for no reason.
That's funny.
But it very much so still, and even in the Da Vinci Code, Tom Hanks' character are rock star versions of boring jobs.
Yeah.
Not that archaeologist is a boring job. It is a cool job.
Yeah, it's a cool job, but I mean, I get what you're saying.
You don't think of
it's a lot more
you don't think of a Bond character being an archaeologist.
Yeah, exactly. It's a lot more desk work and stuff like that. So I was thinking about that because I also rewatched an extra Indiana Jones film for this. I watched The Last Crusade.
Yeah.
And I started thinking about how Indy in these films, he's very good at finding the stuff, but he's not necessarily good at retrieving them and getting them in museums. Yeah. He's kind of really bad at it, actually.
Yeah, especially the end of this movie where he just abandons the Ark in a
because you have to.
Yeah, no, I mean,
but then the U.S. government just they take it away. So
did they?
Yeah.
Oh, in Last Crusade that happens.
And in this one, in the Ark of the Covenant,
the U.S. government got it.
Yeah, they get it in the crate and they put it in that big warehouse.
Oh, I thought that's where Indy had left it.
No. That's the government.
I thought Indy had put it there on purpose, that no one could find it.
No. That's why he's I could see that, but no, it's because I think they reference it in Crystal Skull, but I don't remember because I never wanted to revisit that film.
I'm gonna watch it.
I might have to now.
Actually, I might not. I started watching Temple of Doom, the second Indiana Jones movie, and I honestly think it's incredibly bad.
I loved it as a kid, and the last time I tried to watch it, I was like, wow, this is not good.
It starts off with that weird Japanese nightclub scene, and then there's not any adventure happening.
I remember I liked them jumping out of the airplane a lot when I was a kid.
It's so stupid,
but it probably is stupid.
Yeah. They jump out of a crashing airplane on a safety raft.
Yeah.
Then they fall off a cliff in the same raft.
Yeah.
There's no way you'd survive either of those falls. It's not that safe a raft.
Well, he did.
Short Round would have been bounced right out.
Short Round. Yeah, that movie's very bad with its Asian representations.
It's very bad.
And its
I think
female
it's
representations.
Yeah. because the female, I forget her name. It was like a weird.
Yeah.
I don't remember, but I don't think it's very good so far. I'll probably finish it. I think the adventure was about to start. I was halfway through. I was about an hour in, and it had
the fact that I mean, you got to the chilled monkey brain scene. But
the Indian food in the movie is beetles, a snake filled with other snakes, chilled monkey brains, and eyeball soup.
Yeah. So what we're trying to say is
not enough naan.
Raiders of the Lost Ark is very good.
Yeah, it is very good.
Yeah, it's
especially when you compare it to its sequels, which Last Crusade you said is good. And we watched the scene. I liked the River Phoenix scene.
It's not as good, but it is good.
Yeah.
It's a return to kind of most of the formula, basically, that worked for them. Yeah. Indiana doing archaeology versus Nazis.
Yeah, that's what we needed.
Yeah.
We need the Nazis.
They play a big part of it. So.
And here what's interesting is, like, so after that initial scene when Indy gets the relic that he was searching for, and then, like, that rival archaeologist takes it, you know, what's interesting is that guy, he's not a good archaeologist. He didn't find it at all. He just kind of followed Indy.
Yeah.
You could make a career following Indy around, though.
Yeah, I mean, he's inevitably going to lose everything. So
they establish him as like a rival of Indiana, but he's not necessarily a bad guy, at least right at the start. Like, he's not a good guy, but he doesn't kill Indy. He just leaves, and he's like, just give me the thing. And but then he starts working for the Nazis.
Well, yeah, where the black and white Indiana's good because he's American and not a Nazi versus Belloc, who he's okay. He's in a gray zone, but then he becomes aligned with that, the Nazis. And so, and
he
it's
sort
kind
of justifies
French, I
it.
think. But,
something like that.
So it's like, it's even kind of more despicable when you think of it that way. But, and he justifies it as
just the means to an end.
Exactly. Like archaeology shouldn't be beholden to one government. It should be in its own form of science. And that's what a lot of scientists who work for the Nazis actually argued, that, the learning of knowledge doesn't matter who you're working for, which, most people who understand the Nazis are inherently evil disagree.
Will not agree with you. Yeah.
So, but that's like kind of the whole position there. And that's kind of like a unique, like, underlying concept that's not really overt at all. It's just something you recognize if you understand that was like a thing. But of course, he gets his comeuppance as well as the Nazis.
Yeah. So the whole reason the Nazis wanted the Ark is because the rumored thing that happens is you open the Ark and it kills
energy,
everyone.
power.
Yeah, so it's like the ultimate weapon.
There's always, I guess this is true, that Hitler had like a fascination with the occult. I should probably look that up. But you always see like History Channel special, so it's probably not true. But
burn, nice.
Sorry, but
how dare you? My dad works for the History Channel.
Yeah, so it really works for this film because you have an archaeologist who wants to put things where they belong in a museum where they can be studied.
And then you have in a museum.
So that's the pursuit of knowledge, for almost for the betterment of society, to gain knowledge, to learn, and then there's the pursuit of knowledge for power, which is also like an interesting kind of dichotomy there they set up. So and I believe, I don't know if they mention it in this one, but that idea is, he's looking for the Ark not to get power from it. He wants, it's one of the ultimate finds out there.
It's like for his career.
Yeah, exactly. It would not just put him on the map, it put the museum on the map.
Yeah, and it's not even just
that. It's like, it's...
It was like his mentor's lifelong pursuit was trying to find the Ark.
Exactly. And then, when your government comes to you asking you to go on a mission, he's still pretty neutral on that.
Yeah.
But he's like, I get it, like, we don't want the Nazis to have it. That's like more some of the motivation there too. So it's definitely a good way to make you really root for a guy.
Yeah, honestly, just putting him against the Nazis is all you need.
I mean, 88% of the work is done then.
Yeah, and then you just got to make the character like cool and fun, and they do that really well.
And you get Harrison Ford.
Yeah, one of my favorite scenes in the movie is the fight scene with the airplane. I really like that.
Fight scene with the
They're fist fighting. He's fist fighting like the two people, Nazis. This is after they've found the Ark, gotten captured, gotten out of the tomb. They see that they're going to fly out with the Ark, and so they run to stop the plane. Indy's fighting the giant guy
the
second.
Giant German dude.
He fights one guy first, and then it's the giant guy. And Marion gets in the plane, is like firing the gun, and then accidentally like sets it to start spinning. And
then there's the threat of an explosion.
The fire, the oil spilling. It's just like a really kinetic scene. It's like a lot of fun. There's a lot going on. The score is playing like the whole time, the like classic indie score. And and then it's just this like crazy fight, and like they always I'm trying to think of the right word. He's like Indiana Jones is just like a hustler.
Yeah.
Because like they show, it's a very famous scene now where this is earlier in the movie. He's chasing someone through the streets, and then that swordsman stops him, is doing all the spins, and he just shoots him. Like that's very much like.
Do you know the backstory behind that?
No.
I'm sure every podcast who's ever covered Indiana Jones talks about it, so I'm going to do it too. But just real quick, apparently everyone but Spielberg was sick on the set because they were all eating the local craft service.
Yeah. Damn.
Spielberg actually brought his own gigantic private stash. I don't know if it's private, but he just brought his own personal stash of SpaghettiOs. So he knew he'd get sick. So he just brought tons of SpaghettiOs. He was eating SpaghettiOs every day.
Why? Wait, I don't understand that.
Because it's canned food that just lasts. I mean, you just bring... Because it's
Why
a
did
whole
he
meal.
have a personal stash of SpaghettiOs?
Because he didn't want to get sick by eating foreign food and drinking foreign water.
Oh, I see.
So
this was a good thing.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, Spielberg was fine.
Okay.
Everyone on set got, like, diarrhea or something. Like, they got really sick, basically. So there was actually the shooting script had an elaborate scene where Indiana Jones has to fight the sword guy.
Yeah.
And Harrison Ford and everyone else was like we're too fucking sick, man.
Yeah.
Like we can't do this. So then it became, I don't know. I think Harrison Ford might suggest, how about I just shoot him? It feels like I would just shoot them.
Yeah.
And so that's what they changed it to. And it's like very much.
That's funny.
It makes it so much better.
Yeah.
So it's one of those things.
Well, it
where,
feels so true to the character.
Exactly. Yeah. Because he's not the strongest guy.
No.
He's probably usually the smartest guy in the room.
Yeah. One
but
of them,
he's like not the fastest, not the strongest.
Yeah.
Usually not even the best shot. Like he's just good enough at things to slide by. But since he's one of the smartest guys, he always sees the quickest way to get something done.
He's got moxie.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah. He's very intuitive.
Yeah.
And that did make sense, honestly.
Yeah.
And it does set the character tone. So
then in this fist fight, fast forward again, the plane's spinning around. The way he wins isn't by defeating this larger guy, David versus Goliath. It's by he gets knocked down, the guy's standing over and ready to finish him, and then a propeller blade just kills him.
And
and he just like crawls away, and
it's literally
like
at the last second he realizes what's going to happen,
Yeah.
and then the guy does too.
Yeah.
So and that's while he's trying to think of a way to save Marion.
Oh, you know what was gross? That actually just reminds me. The movie's super bloody.
Yeah.
And nowadays, like you can't show that much blood in even a PG-13 movie.
I feel like these movies were why they made PG-13.
This was rated PG. I looked it up after. This was rated PG and PG-13. The first PG-13 movie came out in like 1988 or something, maybe. It was a Patrick Swayze movie. I don't remember what it was, but
yeah. So looked it up. You are correct. A Patrick Swayze film, also known as Red Dawn, was the first PG-13 rated movie, which was inspired by all the negative parent reactions to Temple of Doom being rated PG and being very gory and bloody.
They said it's like the darkest of the Indiana Jones movies.
Yeah,
and you actually said that to me before we looked all this up.
Yeah. And I mean, the thing with Temple of Doom is there's a lot of like ripping into chests and pulling out hearts and stuff like that. I think you probably stopped right before that starts, but you saw them eating like bugs and snakes and cutting snakes open.
The snake thing was weird. They cut the snake open and a bunch of live snakes come out.
Yeah.
And then they just cut to a guy eating two of them at once. They're wriggling around, man.
Yeah. I don't think that happens in real life.
I don't know, but I don't think so.
Yeah, those Thuggies. I think they're called the Thuggies, which I also don't like that name either.
In the movie?
Yeah. I think that was like the region or people or tribe or I didn't even know.
I don't like that. Maybe I won't finish it.
Anyway.
Indiana
Jones is known for, like you said, finding the quickest, best solutions. So, I mean...
so Spielberg invented PG-13.
And, yeah, that's the quickest solution to not getting rated R.
Yeah. Because isn't Jaws rated PG?
I don't know, probably.
Because that came out well before, and I remember reading about it and being like astonished that it was rated. Yeah, it was PG. Being astonished that it was rated PG.
Yeah.
Because it's very bloody. It's
and I mean,
shark attack movie.
I feel like our country's always done better with handling violence in films than anything else. Like as far as like letting kids watch violence, that parents get upset about it, but they'll get way more upset over like sex.
Oh yeah, okay.
And even language.
Yeah.
So like if the F-bombs dropped 8 times in a row in a movie, you're gonna see an angry mom.
Yeah.
If 8 dudes are shot and there's a decent amount of blood, they're gonna be like, yeah, that's a little violent.
A good example of the weirdness there, possibly 8th grade, Bo Burnham's coming of age movie, wide release this past weekend. I saw it; it was excellent. Rated R. Because I think they use the fuck a couple times, and there's one
very common
scene with some sexual connotations, and they make it rated R. And I think that's very... And then Jaws. I mean, that's old, obviously, but like all the Avengers movies, Mission Impossible, they're very violent.
Oh yeah.
And no
the
problem.
key is not showing blood in your violence, which is very silly.
Yeah, it's kind of telling, and I'm not going to spoil anything, but in Fallout, there are a couple scenes where there's a good amount of blood, and I was shocked because it's rated PG-13. I was like, wow, they're showing a lot of blood. But they show one stray nipple, and it's rated R.
It's a strange system, man. The whole rating thing, and it almost seems like super outdated in so many different ways. Not just because society changes, but because all these different methods of watching now.
Yeah, and plus just the content and the context of the content is so important. Like, sure, like I remember there was the last time before 8th grade that there was kind of a big outrage about a rating was it Don't Think Twice. The movie about the improv comedians, Mike Birbiglia directed it. It was rated R because there's a scene with marijuana. Like, that's it. There's not even like that bad language, I don't think.
That's funny.
But like they should watch these movies and like actually see the context and stuff and rate them accordingly. I don't.
I mean,
and I know there's a lot of like,
yeah,
not gaming the system, but a lot of like you send your cut, they give you a rating, and then there's like almost a negotiation. Like, well, we cut these scenes, we need to leave this one in, but what about this and stuff like that. But
yeah, it's all weird because like you could show almost every single inch of a naked woman.
Yeah.
And you can only show so much of a naked man, which already is insane because like a shirtless man's fine.
Yeah.
But then if you start showing, some ween,
Pubes.
like you get in trouble.
Yeah.
So, and it can never be a hard ween, which I'm not like person looking for, but let's be real, Like these.
Let's be real.
Let's be real. Indiana Jones would have a huge boner.
Yeah.
No,
he should. Let's make our own Indiana Jones cut, the boner cut.
Yeah.
This is a boner throughout.
Yeah.
I was gonna say something really dumb, but I can't remember now.
Well, we just segued from Indiana Jones' boner, so I can't imagine you saying anything dumb right now.
Oh, here's what I was gonna say. Could you show a naked woman if you photoshopped out her nipples? So her breasts were entirely bare, but there just wasn't any areola.
I mean, it's kind of like Mystique in the X-Men movies.
Kind of, yeah. But
Just
she's also blue.
Yeah, so if you just turned her flesh color, I don't know. I honestly don't know. I feel like Ex Machina might have done that with like robot boobs, but I don't remember.
Also rated R, though.
Yeah. So I don't have an actual answer for you. My examples are
there were
all...
nipples on that, at least on... well, I don't remember the Asian robot in the movie. What was her? Moki Kokoro or something like that? I'm pretty sure I'm not that far off.
You're still better than Temple
I'm not
going
to keep going. Yeah. But anyways, the propeller scene, like blood splatters everywhere.
Yeah, and there's a couple other scenes that are still pretty bloody and violent in this, and I mean the ending sequence is amazing.
Yeah.
With
that looked like it would have been fun to shoot.
Yeah, for
like
real.
With the models melting after seeing the Ark.
Like we said, Indiana Jones is really good at finding stuff and not necessarily good at retrieving it for the museums. So the Nazis get the Ark of the Covenant.
Yep.
And we're kind of led on to know that something's wrong when the box that it's held in,
like
not the Ark
burning.
itself, but the crate, slowly burning. So we know that there's more here to go on. And then when they finally do their ceremony, the Nazis...
Yeah, well, they were first about to transport it just straight. They were going to bring it straight to Hitler.
Yeah.
And then, I don't remember if it was Indiana Jones or it might have been Belloc.
Belloc, I think.
Yeah, because he wanted to open it. He wanted to see what was going on.
Yeah.
And he's like, well, would you want to bring this to your Führer without first making sure it's authentic, like the actual Ark?
Yeah.
You wouldn't want to disappoint him, would you? So then they set up this ceremony.
Yeah, which is it. I love that because it's cool that it gives like this risk. Well, what if they didn't do that?
Yeah.
What if they had brought it and opened it in front of Hitler and like this happens to hit? Like it gives you such a
what if,
like an Inglourious Bastards feeling where you're like, oh, that would have been a great way to kill Hitler. You know, like that would have been amazing. So once you see the ending of this film and realize like what's going on, but what I also like with that too is they do that whole. He does the ceremony, they open it, and for the briefest of moments, he just like lifts up like sand from it. And so you think, like if this was your first time seeing that moment, you'd be like, oh, there's nothing in there.
Yeah.
Like that's going to be it.
I thought, I was like, oh, Indy tricked him.
Yeah.
Because he had already done something where there was like not a box swap, but they were like chasing after. They're like, oh no, well we got the Ark, so you can let them go. Yeah. And then it turned out to be either a box of sand or just empty. I forget what it was.
Yeah. But. And he's smart enough to pull shit off like that. Yeah. So it's a cool moment where it's like, what is, what's happening? And then all of a sudden you see the energy kind of flowing through and they see spirits flowing out.
Yeah.
And then they all start fucking dying as it shoots energy through them.
They're all just screaming and dying.
And Indiana Jones tells Marion a moment before, keep her eyes closed, like not look over there. Glad he knows some of his biblical history, I guess. Yeah. But
that's why
which I think he does say to her at one point, like, haven't you read the Bible or something? It was pretty funny. But Yeah, and so then you get to see awesome face melts.
Yeah.
Like skin liquefying.
Yeah.
It's great.
It was cool.
It's Nazis, so love it.
It was
awesome. Yeah, so after that, it cuts to, like we said, the government retrieves it and stocks it away. Which is it's a fun little moment, and they do actually tie into that, I think, in Crystal Skull. But I feel like there's a car chase through that warehouse actually, but there's also
I feel like I remember that from the trailer.
Indiana Jones
with Mutt Williams.
Yeah, with Mutt, he survives a nuclear blast in a refrigerator. So there's
that movie.
Yeah.
That's a trope though, like a refrigerator thing. Like that was in Iron Man 3 as well. It wasn't a nuclear blast, but remember. Maybe not a good source to cite.
I wonder if people
I have heard stuff
in real
like
life.
that. I feel like I've heard stories, and I have no source, but of like in Nagasaki or something, someone hiding in the refrigerator or something like that.
Yeah.
And being okay. Or like the shadow, like there's the whole thing, the nuclear shadow.
I mean, there's definitely, if it's lead lined and you're not getting hit by the blast, like the force of it, I get that to a degree. Yeah. But, that's just a segue.
It's very unimportant in
this film. It's not important at all. So, the main thing here is just like I said, it's super, just really fun adventure film.
Yeah,
really well paced.
Oh,
it doesn't really linger.
No, never.
Like I think
it flies by.
Yeah.
There is a little bit of a fake out. I thought it was going to end after they'd gotten the Ark. The Nazis got the Ark. Then there was the whole escape sequence, the plane scene.
Yeah.
Then there's a car chase, and then they're like on this freighter.
That
and
freighter,
they're leaving.
dude,
they have
that captain's cool as shit.
Yeah, he was a cool dude.
I want a movie with
He's
that
a bro.
guy.
Yeah.
Like bring them back somehow and give us like their adventures.
Yeah.
Because they're just fucking cool, man.
Yeah.
All of them.
Yeah.
I was like, this needs a movie. Why wasn't that the sequel? That's what I wonder.
This Captain Phillips?
Well, I'm just like, they do Temple of Doom next.
Yeah.
But like that was the most interesting side characters that they didn't really expand on just because they were cool.
And I really like John Rhys Davies.
Yeah, he's cool too. Yeah, Sala. He does return in a later film.
Yeah, he returns in
Last Crusade.
Yeah. But they get on this freighter, and then like Marion and Indy are having a nice like flirty scene. He's all injured because he was like dragged behind a car and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So he's kind of fucked up. And she's like tending to his wounds, and then they start kissing, and then he falls asleep. I was like, okay, it's gonna end, and I thought that was the end of the movie. Because like it had been at least an hour
pleasant surprise.
Yeah, there was a pleasant 45 more minutes.
Yeah.
There's a good standoff where Indy has a rocket launcher.
Yeah, he gets talked.
Funny.
He gets his bluff called.
Yeah,
from the bluffs.
You know what? When you're a hustler, sometimes you get hustled.
You get hustled. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Apparently, archaeology is just hustling.
Yeah. It's every greaser who's out there hustling people at the pool tables. Tell them to go into archaeology.
Yeah, they're also archaeologists.
Yeah.
So, what are some of the more recent adventure films besides National Treasure? Because there's those two. There's this
National Treasure.
I guess.
You could call the Da Vinci series.
Yeah, the Da Vinci series could kind of work. I mean, they do well. I feel like the new Jumanji is more like an adventure film.
Sort of. Yeah, the new Jumanji plays on a lot of like video game tropes because there's like that angle to it.
Well, I mean, that you could dip genres and stuff. It still has. I haven't seen it, but it still has the adventure elements.
Sort of. The thing I always think like makes in quote unquote adventure film is like going to multiple
destinations
locations.
And stuff, yeah.
You could almost say Mission Impossible is kind of an adventure film.
I mean, it definitely takes elements from it for sure.
Yeah, because they're like in this one, they're in Paris, they're in London, they're all over. Yeah, and all of them, they're in varied locations.
With action adventure, yeah, because I mean that's spy movies and I guess archaeology movies kind of have that same thing. Yeah. So that's true. Yeah, and that's true. There's a lot of honestly. They're very similar types of movies when you think about it. Really there's MacGuffins that drive the action.
There's like a key lead that's driving everything.
There's usually a team of experts that helps, and there's usually like equal team / experts on the other side as well.
Yeah, equivalents.
And like some kind of power that wants like an Axis type of power, like the Nazis or terrorists that want the same MacGuffin for the bad reasons.
Right.
Yeah.
How about Wonder Woman?
Yeah, I mean, it has a lot. Yeah.
For me, it's always like almost a globe-trotting kind of thing. You start off in the Amazon, you go to London, you go to the war.
What we're basically saying is like this premise works because it works for archaeology, history, adventure films. It works for
espionage,
spy films, superhero films use it. sci-fi action films use it. Like, it's used very frequently because it's a good formula if you know how to write a good story with it.
Yeah.
Using this is smart.
Yeah.
You know,
you get a lot of varied locations, varied settings, and then the action within it can be very varied as well because you're playing with the environment. Like, the environment is like critical in all this.
Yeah. And like the character motivations aren't just let me get item, because that's like, that's the outward motivations, but it's also like for Indiana, it's let me save Marion, this woman that I love. Let me finish what my mentor was doing. Let me not let my mentor down by letting his daughter die, like stuff like that. And let me prevent the Nazis from doing bad. And so, I mean, you have to have that wrapped into like what the item is that they're looking for and all that, the Kickstarter. But
Lord of the Rings, The Hobbit.
Yeah,
there's a great one. Lord of the Rings. So I mean, that's another adventure movie, traveling around the globe.
To tie everything back to Spider-Man 3.
Here we go.
Do you know about Topher Grace's editing hobby?
Yeah, I read the other day that
he
while
apparently
shooting Black Klansman, the new movie where he plays David Duke.
Yeah,
it's the new Spike Lee joint.
He felt so weird about playing such a terrible
person. It made him
person.
very anxious.
Yeah,
and he re-edited the Hobbit movies.
Yeah,
which I don't know if he edited them into 1 or 2 or whatever, but he wasn't famous for this.
Yeah,
but
he's famous.
He famously
yeah.
Re-edited the prequels.
Yeah,
and I don't know if they ever got released or anything.
I think he did a private screening for his friends, which are just other Hollywood industry folks. But
George Lucas was there and he was like insulted. He's like, "Come on, man."
But no, I find that
do you think
highly.
George Lucas and Topher Grace are friends?
I don't know. Where would their crossover points be?
The re-edit of his movies.
Yeah, I guess so. Probably not.
No. Anyways, folks, that's our show.
Topher Grace, feel free to invite either of us to watch your Hobbit edit.
Yeah, I'd love to see a new edit of the Hobbit. Yeah. This movie was nominated for 8 Academy Awards.
Ooh, what were they?
Best Picture, Best Director, Best Cinematography, Best Original Score. It didn't win any of those 4. What it did win were Best Film Editing, Best Art Direction, Best Visual Effects, and Best Sound.
That's fair.
I was shocked that it didn't win Best Score, but then you see what did win.
What did?
Chariots of Fire.
Oh,
which is also pretty iconic.
Yeah.
And then, so I was looking at the winners of like Best Picture and stuff.
What was it up
Chariots of Fire won Best Picture. But Best Director was won by Warren Beatty for a film called Reds. Have you heard of that movie?
No.
Me neither. And whenever we look back at some of these Oscar winners, we talked about it a couple weeks ago, that just don't stand the test of time, really, or just maybe they stand the test of time, but in like the public eye, they don't kind of carry. But when I saw that Chariots of Fire had won Best Original Score, I was like, well, at least that's a score that even to this day is still like world famous. Like everyone knows.
It's still
that
relevant
song.
to the
like
discussion.
I've never seen the movie, but
same. But I know the music.
You know the music.
And as soon as you said it, it was in my head. So it's like, it's used in everything. So, I've never even heard of Reds.
Yeah.
But.
So, and that won Best Director and Best Cinematography. But 4 wins for Raiders. That's pretty cool,
Yeah. I think, Raiders definitely deserved it in my mind.
Highest grossing movie in 1981.
Nice. Yeah.
248
and,
domestic.
One cool thing I heard about this film, I don't think they're still married, but Harrison Ford's wife at the time, Melissa Matheson, when she was visiting the set to visit them while they were filming, her and Spielberg started coming up with the idea for E.T.
Oh.
So I guess she kind of like dictated his thoughts down and they would work it and make it. And so he wrote E.T. while making this movie.
Did she have a credit on E.T.?
I don't actually know.
I don't know who she is.
But I don't know. Yeah, she's
for an Oscar.
Definitely known for it. Listed as the writer. So
cool.
I guess she approached him with the idea, and they worked on it together, and then boom, they made it.
Cool.
So yeah,
and then that obviously spawned Mac and Me,
and that spawned this podcast.
So thank God for Raiders of the Lost Ark.
Yeah, man.
But no, it's good stuff. Raiders is good. I'm gonna finish Temple of Doom, even though I didn't like the first half.
It's worth finishing.
Maybe once they do the adventure stuff, I'll be like, okay, this is still fun. I'm
it's
enjoying
worth finishing so that when you watch Last
Then
Crusade, you're like, this is a lot better than Temple of Doom.
And then I'll watch Kingdom of the Crystal Skull and say, and this is even better than Raiders.
Which I think Crystal Skull got like a 77 on Rotten Tomatoes or something.
Yeah.
So I mean,
it always reminds me how like even the prequels for the most I don't think
until the re-release of Phantom Menace, I think they were all positive.
The second one's pretty low. The third one is still positive, I think.
Yeah, but I think it was the re-releases that knocked those down. But I don't remember.
But either way, I feel like with these big franchises, sometimes critics have just like kind of kid gloves a little bit.
Yeah,
maybe.
and I mean, like I said, Spider-Man 3, total hit.
Exactly. You had your kid gloves on your live journal. What's that live journal link for everyone?
No. I was so mesmerized by Topher Grace's Eddie Brock performance that...
I didn't think Topher Grace was that bad. I understand that the character was very different than the actual Eddie Brock, than Tom Hardy.
If you're Tom Hardy, you play him like, I don't know, like a drunk guy who's barely intelligible
whose tongue
in
is
English.
made of roast beef.
Yeah. True, though.
Why is Tom Hardy usually unintelligible in his movies? They just released a shot from the new movie he's doing with Josh Trank where he plays Al Capone.
Yeah.
Is it Al Capone? Yeah.
I think so.
Yeah. Whatever. But in the makeup, I can already tell I'm not going to be able to understand him.
Yeah.
And like in Dunkirk, he's in a rattling plane with a British accent, and
I don't think that's his fault in Dunkirk.
Well,
I think it's the sound
mix.
mixing.
It's a mix. It's part the sound mixing and part you probably wouldn't be able to understand him that well if you
What
were
it
there.
is he actually, it's written in all of his contracts. He has to have a mouthful of Big League Chew whenever he makes a movie.
Cool.
And they just constantly, he has to have it.
Tom Hardy.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's not his fault. It's the Big League Chew's fault.
Wow. So. Shots fired at BLC. Well, that's our show because I'm done here. Max, where can the good people find us?
You could find us trekking through the jungles with Alfred Molina.
Cool.
Or you can find us at thecriticalbreakdown.com. Like you said earlier, /vote to get your vote in. You can find us on Facebook and Twitter.
That poll will be up for a week.
Yeah, a week. So get your votes in.
Boom.
You can also find me. Eating SpaghettiOs in Egypt with Steven Spielberg, or on Twitter at Max Rivera Film.
You can find me losing a drinking contest with Karen Allen, or you can find me at breakdown_Scott on Instagram and Twitter.
And it's Karen Allen now, so she's fully she's an adult.
Yeah, not a kid. Wouldn't drink with a kid. Wouldn't do a lot of things.
You're not irresponsible. That's why.
Thank you. I probably wouldn't.
You just wouldn't
drinking
drink
contest
really,
either.
Yeah. So you'd be like,
I would
drinking
give a kid booze,
water,
but I wouldn't drink with them. Jason Brown did our music.
Josh Rivera did our artwork.
And Walter's the podcast art. No, that doesn't. He's the podcast short round.
Yeah, he kind of is.
And we're the podcast boys.
And what are we watching next week on The Critical Breakdown?
Beauty and the Beast. OG. Cartoon. Best Picture nom. Good music.
Rated 94% on Rotten Tomatoes.
Beauty and the Beast.
Tale as old as time.
That's my favorite song.
It's a good one.
Be our guest.
I like the opening song best.
Yeah, that's a good one. Yeah. Guest on
Marie the Baguettes.